How did this group get together in the first place? And how, you said you're 23 and you're...
No, the group is 38.
Oh, 38.
The organization
And
is 38 years
what
old,
are the
but there have
rest
been
of you
23
doing?
different women.
No, 38 years old.
Oh, it's 38 years old. And you are the only members?
And 23 different women over 38 years.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you keep it this...
This is the present group.
I got you. Okay, and do you come from everywhere, or you from one area, or do you audition, or how do people get into this group? I can't, obviously, but...
Wow.
And how did you get together?
Well, the original group developed out of a theater company. It was a theater company, and actually it was a young man that wanted to pull together a group of singers. And we came together, and the musical director of the theater company was Bernice Johnson Reagan. We asked her to help us with the group, and she helped us with the group. But as the rehearsals went forward, you know, the group got smaller and smaller, and it ended up with 4 women. And we decided we would sing. And that's how Sweet Honey started. So over the years, different people, you know, left, since it's all women. Women had babies, families, children, blah, blah, and, you know, other careers and things. People have come and gone. And, you know, and over the years, 23 different women. I've been back in the group 6.5 years. I've been gone for 25.
You don't live in the same area, you all come from different places?
On the stage as we speak now, 3 people live in Silver Spring, 2 people live in Washington, D.C., and 1 person lives in New York. Our sound person lives in Massachusetts, and our road manager lives in New Orleans.
And do you have a certain time then that you rehearse together, so that you're all together?
Yeah, when we leave here. But that's true. That's what's going to happen.
In terms of the way that you get into the group, it has to be your path, your destiny. It's no big open casting call or anything like that, you know. Just for me, when I came to Washington, D.C., I was working at this health food restaurant, trying to get myself together, and I met a woman who was a part of the group, Evelyn Harris, and something about her energy, she just was just drawn to me, and she invited me to come and audition for the group. So without that, I wouldn't have been brought into the group. Natanju was living in Africa, my sister, and when she came back, I was hoping that she would come back. When she did come back, I said, come on, why don't you audition? Because there was an opening at that time. Come on, audition for the group, and she was into the group. So it just has to be a part of your path, just like everything. But that's the way that you join it.
We had a different situation in 2003 when Bernice Reagan decided to retire from the group. And the 4 of us who were going to remain and keep the group moving forward, we were trying to figure out how are we going to what are we going to do? How are we going to get another singer to round out the group to the 5? And we did something that to this day, I still consider to be like a really monumental, totally Sweet Honey in the Rock way of doing things. And we invited 10 women from around the country that we knew personally or had been in the group before as a sub or whatever, and invited them to come to D.C. and brought people in. And we had 3 days, 4 days?
3 days.
3 days of singing. We just all sang together. We gave them material to study. We sang with them. That was what was a very interesting thing. We had a big circle, so there were 15 of us in a room, and every day we showed up from 10 to 5, and people did solos, and we sang background for them, and did all of those kinds of, different things with them until we got to a point where we could decide who we wanted to be a part of Sweet Honey at that time. And instead of going with one person, we asked for lovely Louise over here to come back. Please, Louise, come back. And we also had another woman who had been a sub. Her name was Arne. And so we had 6 women on stage for maybe about 3 years.
7.
7 on stage.
Huh?
7. 6 singers.
6 singers, that's what I meant. 6 vocalists and our singing sign language interpreter.
And it was never my intention to be a singer or a musician. at all. I was teaching at Howard University College of Dentistry, and there was a Sunday in which I sang at my church for the very first time, and I was signing the song that I was singing, and I was interpreting the service, and none of those things had ever happened before. And Bernice Regan came to me afterwards and said, she introduced herself and she said, Sweet Honey in the Rock is looking for a new member and auditions are starting tomorrow. Will you come? I'm thinking, right. But I went because I figured it could be fun or it could be horrible. But it was fun, and it was a month and not just that one day. And I learned a lot of songs, and it was really one of the easiest and most fun things I had done. And at the end, I was invited to join the group, and I was like, sure. And what I said was that I would try it for a couple of years, and this is now 32 years. So.
Can you explain the origin of the name Sweet Honey in the Rock, the name of the group? Or the significance,
I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Could you repeat the question? I didn't.
Oh, I'm
Hear
sorry.
it on
Just
this, or maybe
the
it's just me.
origin or the significance of the name Sweet Honey in the Rock for the group?
Okay. Well, I wasn't there, but I've been told that as the group of people who had come together to form the group, which was larger and then got smaller and smaller and smaller, as the size of the group had pared down to like these 4 women, one of the songs that they were singing that seemed to really lock in terms of the harmonies was a song called Sweet Honey in the Rock. And somebody in the room said, oh, maybe that could be the name of the group. And I guess they really liked it. And I think the song became important in a number of different ways. One is that it is a parable that's in the Bible about there being a land so rich that when you crack open the rocks, honey flows forward. And the other is just the metaphor. And maybe somebody else wants to talk about the metaphor of honey in the rock. But I hear tell that's kind of what happened.
True, true.
I think you're talking about
The honey.
Quality of
the
honey.
quality of the of black women. We've had to be so strong and to endure so much hardship and pain, suffering, work throughout our history from Africa. Even back then, when we do our research, you find we were still working hard. But the metaphor talks about how a rock, which is how something that's strong, that represents a strength, the enduring quality, hard, unpenetrable. But when you do crack it, that honey flows from that rock. And the honey represents the sweetness that is us, the sweetness of the woman, the flowing quality that is there. But it's encased within that rock for survival, so that we can hold things together, we pull things together. We have a strong matrilineal background. So you have the rock, and you have honey, the sweetness, that's us, that flows inside of that rock.
Unless it's cold.
Right.
Or old.
Or old and cold.
Stop. Then it molds.
But still edible.
Still edible. And still sweet.
That's true.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it enormously, as do my students, I'm sure. I was just thinking that over 38 years, the group's weathered many different administrations and political blips and circumstances in this country. And I was wondering, what have been the experiences of censorship and of having your form of public activist art being restricted? Are there any stories that you can share with us about those types of experiences where in some ways you've been silenced, but the Sweet Honey's not allowed to flow where it should?
I think we flow, but you won't hear us on the radio.
I think that's part of our reality. I think we have to do our work and hope that we can reach whoever is there to hear and to take it in. But we can't necessarily look for support in a lot of ways from mainstream media and those kinds of things. But I think we take a position that we want to take a stand. And I think we do that wherever we go, regardless of what may happen when we get there. And we certainly have been in situations where we've spoken out, sang our songs, and it was not appreciated by everyone who was there. People have walked out in our concerts, not been really happy with the message that we have given. But like with anyone who is trying to take a stand to move forward, you can't let that stop your intention. And that's what we do. We just keep pushing forward ever more and hoping that even when earlier in the class before, I think it was Louise who talked about how we write music, we create a certain sound and a message and pray that it lives long beyond our years on the planet, that in the future that we cannot see, that music will still inspire, touch someone, still uplift, still have someone thinking about there is another way to be in the world where I can be courageous. I can speak what I need to say. I look at things that are wrong, that I see as wrong in the world with humankind, and find ways to raise my voice, whether it's in small groups, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's amongst my friends. Oftentimes we find ourselves, even with our friends, and things are not right, and we can have those kinds of discussions. I have a teenage son. I talk to him a lot. I say, if you're with your friends and you see them putting down a woman, for example, what do you do for yourself? Do you engage in that? Do you find it funny? Do you support it by not doing anything? Or do you say, hey, come on, y'all, this is not right. We have voices where we can do things. And I wrote a song one time, a few years back. It's called Run, and it's about domestic violence. And as soon as I wrote it, my husband said, oh, Lord, now you're going to sing this, everybody going to think you're talking about, me. But, I told him, it's so important because the whole issue of domestic violence really isn't about the woman. It's about you guys. You all have to decide amongst yourself that this is wrong. And you can't be in a room or be with your friends and they are abusing women in any kind of, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever, and not speak up, just to say, this is not right. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do it to me. I tell my son, you wouldn't want to see that done to your mother or to our neighbors next door that you grew up with. What if somebody was abusing one of these girls? When you look at a situation, it really is not a foreign thing. You can relate almost everything back to your own world. And if we, as especially young people, can unplug for a while and really try to look at what's happening over here is happening over here. It's happening right here. It's happening over there. And we are all going to be affected by it. We can't remove ourselves no matter how we try. And I've gone way off of the subject, and I will end right there.
But Natanji, really, I think the most potent form of censorship, and I think we all have it, is self-censorship. And I think it comes out of fear, and the fear is legitimate. But we have to struggle against it. And sometimes it's our own emotional baggage that prevents us from being able to speak what is true for us. Sometimes it actually is the fear of external forces coming in on us, or judgment that we just don't feel strong enough on a particular day to deal with. But I think it's the self-censorship that is the most potent and the most powerful, the most dangerous.